Welcome back. I'm Clover Frederick, your host for Shape of the City. When you were a kid, you probably heard adults tell you that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. Were they right? Today, we're going to talk with Jessie Coffey with Lincoln Public Schools. She's a nutrition specialist. And we're also going to speak with Rachel Olive. She's the director of Hunger Free Heartland. Thank you both for joining us. Let's start with you, Jessie. Why is breakfast so important, especially for kids?
We know that students that come to school, that eat breakfast at school or at home, come more prepared to learn. Their academic success is improved. They have better concentration in the classroom. They spend more time in the classroom and less time in the nurse's office with headaches and stomach aches. And so we know that we want kids to be successful. And so that would mean eating breakfast so that we can be successful in academics and also just socially at school as well.
Now at our house, our kids eat breakfast every morning. Isn't that the case in every house?
Well, actually, statistics show us that about 50% of kids eat breakfast and 50% of kids don't. So we know that at Lincoln Public Schools, we feed about 27,000 students lunch, and only about 7,000 students eat breakfast with us. So we know there's a huge number of students not eating with us, and we would like to think at home they're eating breakfast, but we know in fact that really they're not either. So it's really important that we get them to eat breakfast either at home or at school, but really just push the concept of school breakfast or eating breakfast for that academic success.
Okay.
I think part of that disparity is that when you go to eat lunch, everybody eats together. There is no distinguishing between whether or not you're free and reduced and you need that help, or whether or not you can pay full price. Whereas for breakfast, many times the idea is that it's just for those that can't afford a breakfast at home. And so the idea of having to go into school prior and be on display as someone who needs help is a little stinky, and no one really likes to feel like that. And so how do we make it so it's much more accessible for everyone, and those kids that need it the most aren't on display?
So you're really saying that the program is for everyone. It would really be great for working parents.
Yes.
Yes, I think really for working parents, school breakfast is a great support. Like I mentioned earlier, the school breakfast program is often available 30 minutes before the school day, so that allows parents to drop students off early, get on their own way for their own day, and then allow them to eat breakfast, which will help them be more successful. And we know that at the elementary level, the breakfast cost is only $1.30 if you're a paid student. If you're free, it's free. Reduced is 30 cents. And at our secondary level, breakfast is $1.50 for paid students and still 30 cents for reduced. So it's a really very economical way to feed your child breakfast.
That's very reasonable. Mm-hmm. Now, what is Lincoln Public Schools doing to get involved with breakfast?
So as of about 2 years ago, Lincoln Public Schools has school breakfast opportunities at every single school in Lincoln. And the easiest way to find out about when breakfast is offered at your school is just to call the school office. It's typically a half hour to 20 minutes before the school day starts. And breakfast is open to all students, not just kids in the before school program or children on the free and reduced lunch program, but all students can eat breakfast.
What are some of the challenges to getting kids to eat breakfast in the morning?
Well, we know that sometimes school breakfast is not offered at a time that's really convenient, and so we do recognize that. And this year we have 6 breakfast programs where we offer the regular breakfast program, and they're able to come and get breakfast in the cafeteria, but we recognize that those kids coming late, it does them no good to sit down, open their milk, and then have to dump their tray and go to the class. So we allow them to have a bagged breakfast where they take their lunch or their breakfast with them to the classroom and they eat in the classroom, minimizing that loss of academic learning time and time out of the classroom.
That's a great idea. Now, what success stories do you have to share with us?
Last year, Loeffler Middle School decided to go one above that whole bagged breakfast in the classroom kind of concept for just the later kids. And they actually have a whole school-wide program where all students that eat breakfast at Loeffler take a grab-and-go breakfast to the classroom. And they were able to double their breakfast participation numbers by doing that, again, because we know that middle school kids have a hard time getting to school on time as it is, let alone in time for breakfast. So this way, everybody, there's no stigma about who's eating breakfast. If you want to eat breakfast, it's an option for you. You take it, everyone goes to the classroom, eats breakfast, and is prepared and ready to learn for the day.
That's great. Now let's speak with Rachel a little bit. Tell us about your organization.
So Hunger Free Heartland is a program that really unites all the other people that are working around anti-hunger within the area across the state. So we look at, you're looking at food pantries, food banks, you're looking at schools. Anybody that has a stake in ending childhood hunger, we really want to work with them and connect them to the resources that are necessary to end childhood hunger, because we know that 1 in 5 children don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
Okay, now what are some of your specific goals?
Our specific goals are really to see an increase in breakfast participation. We know that we're not ranked very well in the states when it comes to breakfast participation in Nebraska. So we've been trying some new and innovative things to really look at how do we increase that, how do we engage our schools more, and how do we support those schools more to make sure that while they're asked to do so many different things, how do we make food for our children a priority?
Okay, now from your perspective, from your organization, why is breakfast so critical for these kids?
In some cases, it's the only time that they get meals. So if you can provide a child with 2 meals a day, and then they go home, then you know that you've provided them with some form of sustenance. We also know that, as Jessie said, that it really does affect how they learn, and you're not seeing as many behaviors. It's a calmer start to the day, and you're not seeing as many kids go to the nurse's office, and that's really important to us, to make sure that kids are healthy and happy and actually ready to learn.
Good. Now, what are some of the challenges you're up against?
I think with any sort of social change issue, when you're looking at food insecurity especially, you get the whole idea that it's not happening in our community, it's not happening in our schools, when in reality it is happening. There are kiddos all across Nebraska that just don't know where their next meal is going to come from, and it's our job to do what we can and to support them and to support those schools that need to be those nutrition hubs.
Great. Now, is there a success story you can share?
I think it's just empowering and really cool to see across our state that all these schools are trying their best. With Lincoln Public Schools trying innovative things, OPS is doing grab-and-go breakfast as well, where they can take their breakfast into the classroom and sit there and eat there. We know that Norris Public Schools is doing the same, and so it's really interesting to see all these schools come together around this one idea to really see helping these children as best they can.
That's great. Now, what advice do you have for our viewers on how they can make a difference?
I think the key is get involved. Get involved with your schools. Find out what they need. If you know that breakfast is a huge piece, then see what you can do to really help implement something like that in your school. Reach out and talk to people. Get to know the facts about what is hunger within our community.
Thank you. Now, back to Jessie. Any advice for getting students to fuel up in the morning?
My advice for getting kids fueled up would just be to think about your schedule, whatever limitations you might have, and just figure out a way to work breakfast in. If school breakfast is not a possibility for your family, if your child rides the bus, send a granola bar or something easy for them to eat on the bus. If you're driving your kids to school, maybe make a smoothie, let them drink that on the way. Something that where they can have some form of breakfast, whether it be small or even a little bit bigger if you make it at home before you even leave. Any kind of breakfast is better than nothing. And at a time when testing scores are just like really at a critical level, and that's a big push in schools, we know that providing breakfast is one of the key components to them being successful. And I know all families really want their children to be successful at school, and so this is just really one very important way to do that.
Oh, great. Thank you both for coming. I'll certainly remember to eat my breakfast every morning. Shape of the City is dedicated to helping Lincoln stay informed of health and wellness topics and events. Visit our calendar at lincoln.ne.gov, keyword 10health. If you'd like to see your event covered, email us at 10healthlincoln@gmail.com.